The night shift at Belmore Tower had been posted for 16 days. 23 workers saw the listing. Not one had accepted. Nathan Cole stood in the temp agency's waiting room, staring at the printout while his daughter's voice echoed from that morning. "Daddy, why do you always pick the hardest jobs?" He didn't have an answer she would understand. The shift paid time and a half. That was the only answer that mattered. The building was a 72-story glass monument on the edge of downtown Chicago, owned by one of America's youngest billionaires. The last 3 security guards assigned to the overnight shift had all quit within a week, somewhere in a corner office, 40 floors above where Nathan would soon walk his rounds. Victoria Ashford signed off on a stack of personnel reports without reading the names. To her, the night shift was just a line item, nothing more. Belmore Tower rose into the Chicago night like a blade of light and steel, its glass facade reflecting the scattered glow of the city below. Nathan clocked in at 11:15. The security desk was empty, except for a half-finished cup of coffee that had gone cold hours ago, and a logbook with entries that grew increasingly sparse over the past month. The lobby stretched out before him, a vast expanse of polished marble and carefully arranged silence. It was designed to impress visitors who would never see it like this, hollow and echoing in the small hours. After the cleaners had finished and the executives had gone home, he collected the keycard and radio from a desk drawer, checked the battery on his flashlight, and began the first of what would be 12 rounds through the building's lower floors. The assignment sheet listed specific checkpoints, fire exits, and mechanical rooms. But what it did unmention was the feeling of being the only heartbeat in a space built for thousands. The HVAC system hummed somewhere in the walls, and the elevators chimed softly at random intervals, as if the building were having dreams. Nathan had worked security before, years ago, when his wife was still alive, and Lily was just a toddler with a laugh that could fill their small apartment. That was before the medical bills and the funeral costs, before the slow unraveling of everything he thought was permanent. Now, he took whatever shifts the agency offered, piecing together enough hours to keep the lights on, food in the fridge, and his daughter in a school that still believed in her future, even when he wasn't sure he believed in his own. His phone buzzed at midnight. Nathan stepped into a stairwell to check the message. It was a photo from Mrs. Delgado, the neighbor who watched Lily on nights like this. His daughter was asleep on the couch, her math homework spread across the coffee table, a stuffed rabbit tucked under her arm. She claimed she was too old for it, but she still couldn't sleep without it. Beneath the photo was a voice message. Nathan pressed play, keeping the volume low. "Hi, Daddy," Mrs. Delgado said. "I could stay up until you texted goodnight, but I got too sleepy. I hope your new job is okay. I know you're working really hard for us. I love you. See you in the morning." Nathan saved the message and listened to it one more time before pocketing his phone. The building felt different after that, less empty somehow. He carried his daughter's voice with him like a lantern through the long corridors, checking locks and testing doors, doing the job no one else wanted because someone had to. He'd stopped waiting for easy a long time ago. The upper floors were different from the lobby. Less policed, more functional, filled with server rooms and mechanical systems that required regular monitoring. Nathan moved through them methodically, noting temperatures on cooling units, checking for warning lights on electrical panels, doing the work the building's daytime staff took for granted. Everything ran on routine here, on the assumption that systems would keep functioning because they had functioned yesterday. No one questioned. No one looked too closely. Nathan could feel it in the way dust had accumulated in corners, the way certain doors stuck slightly, as if they hadn't been opened in weeks. By 2 in the morning, he had covered 40 floors and found nothing unusual. By 3, he was beginning to understand why the previous guards had quit. The isolation was oppressive, the silence almost a physical force, pressing against his ears and making every small sound feel significant. Then, at 3:47 a.m., on the 58th floor, Nathan found the first sign of something wrong. He was checking a mechanical room that housed part of the building's fire suppression system when he saw it. The pressure gauge on the main water line. The needle was sitting 40% below the normal operating range. That meant if a fire broke out anywhere in the upper 20 floors, the sprinklers would engage, but they'd deliver barely enough water to slow the flames, let alone extinguish them. He checked the backup gauge. Same reading. He checked the maintenance log on the wall and found entries going back 3 months. All of them signed off as normal by technicians whose initials he didn't recognize. Someone had been lying for weeks, possibly months. Someone had been documenting normal readings on a critically compromised system, signing their name on forms that could mean the difference between life and death. Nathan didn't know if it was laziness, negligence, or something more deliberate, but he knew that 5,000 people worked in this building during business hours. Secretaries and executives, maintenance workers, and cafeteria staff. People with families who expected them to come home. People who trusted that the building keeping them safe was actually safe. None of them knew that the alarms might work perfectly, but the water that was supposed to follow might be too little, too late. He pulled out his radio and called the building management office. No answer. Just static. He tried the emergency maintenance line listed on the wall. The number rang 12 times before going to a generic voicemail that sounded like it had UNB checked in weeks. He found the building manager's after-hours contact in the security binder and called that too. A woman's voice answered on the fourth ring, groggy and irritated. "This is Nathan Cole, overnight security at Belmore Tower. I've found a serious problem with the fire suppression system on the upper floors. The pressure is dangerously low. This needs immediate attention." "The fire system was inspected last month. It's fine," she replied. "I'm looking at the gauges right now. They're showing 40% below normal. If there's a fire—" "Look," she cut in, her voice hardening. "I don't know what you think you're seeing, but our systems are inspected quarterly by certified technicians. If there was a problem, they would have caught it." There was a pause. "You're new, aren't you? Let me give you some advice. The night shift is simple. Walk your rounds, siegen the logs. Go home in the morning. Don't create problems that aren't there. It makes everyone's job harder, including yours." The line went dead. Nathan stood alone in the mechanical room, surrounded by millions of dollars of equipment, staring at a gauge that represented the lives of thousands of people. Don't create problems that aren't there. The words echoed in his head. It was the same advice he'd received at half the jobs he'd worked. Keep your head down. Don't make waves. Be grateful for the paycheck. It was good advice for survival. It was terrible advice for your conscience. Nathan thought about Lily, asleep on the couch with her rabbit. He thought about what he would tell her if she asked why he hadn't done anything. If someday there was a fire, and the news showed pictures of the building he had walked through on the night when it all could have been prevented. He thought about her voice message, about working hard and doing the right thing. Even when no one was watching, he made a choice. The next 90 minutes were the most focused of Nathan's professional life. He moved through the upper floors with a purpose that had nothing to do with his job description, driven by something that felt like clarity. He documented everything. He photographed the pressure gauges from multiple angles, recorded video of the maintenance logs with their falsified entries, and took precise notes on every system connected to the fire suppression network. He accessed the building's service records through a terminal in the maintenance office, using the generic login credentials posted on a sticky note beside the keyboard. What he found made his stomach drop. The pressure problem wasn't isolated to one floor. It affected the entire upper third of the building, everything above the 50th floor, including the executive suite where Victoria Ashford and her team worked. 22 floors of compromised fire protection. At 4:30 a.m., Nathan made a decision that would either save lives or end his career in building security forever. He located the manual override for the building's fire alert system. He triggered a level 2 notifications, the kind that didn't set off sprinklers or trigger an evacuation, but did create an official incident report that would be automatically forwarded to the city fire marshal's office at the start of business. He logged the action in the security system under his own name and credentials. He was done being invisible. He was done walking past problems. For his daughter, and for the 5,000 people who would walk into this building in a few hours, he chose to make waves. The system accepted the entry with a soft chime, a sound far too gentle for what Nathan had just done. He waited. No alarms, no flashing lights, just the quiet hum of Belmore Tower, acting as if it hadn't just been accused of endangering thousands of lives. Nathan exhaled, the weight of his choice settling in his chest. He knew what he'd just triggered. By morning, there would be urgent emails, quiet meetings, and someone looking for the easiest person to blame. A temp night guard fit that description perfectly. At 4:58 a.m., his radio crackled. "Security desk. This is facilities." "Cole here," Nathan answered. A tight, controlled voice on the other end asked, "Did you initiate a level 2 alert?" Yes. Why? Fire suppression pressure is critically low on floors 50 through 60. Documentation was falsified. I recorded the evidence. There was a long pause. That system was cleared, the man said. We discussed this with management months ago. Nathan stared into the dark hallway. Then, management was wrong. Another silence. Then, quietly, you weren't authorized to trigger that alert. I was authorized to protect the building, Nathan replied, and the people in it. The radio clicked off. When Nathan clocked out at 7:12 a.m., Belmore Tower was waking up. The lobby was full of people with coffee cups and phones, starting a normal workday, completely unaware of how close they'd come to disaster. He handed in his radio and keycard. No one said a word. The text from the temp agency arrived before he even hit the sidewalk. Assignment concluded. He slipped the phone in his pocket and walked toward the bus stop as the sun rose, turning the glass tower behind him into a column of fire and light. By 9:40 a.m., Victoria Ashford, the CEO, was pulled into an emergency meeting with the city fire marshal. The report had Nathan Cole's name right at the top. By noon, the building was partially evacuated. Belmore Tower was the lead story, with headlines screaming about systemic safety failure and falsified inspection records. Week-to-week contractors were under investigation, and senior managers were gone. Long after everyone went home, Victoria Ashford sat alone in her office, watching a security clip on a loop. It showed a man in a Navy uniform, alone in a mechanical room at 3:47 a.m., pointing a flashlight at a pressure gauge most people didn't know existed. The name stayed with her. Nathan Cole. 2 weeks later, Nathan's phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Mr. Cole," a calm voice said. "This is Victoria Ashford. I believe you worked overnight security at Belmore Tower." Nathan glanced at his daughter, Lily, doing her homework nearby. "Yes," he said carefully. "I owe you an apology," Ashford said, "and a conversation. You did what everyone else ignored, knowing it might cost you your job." Nathan swallowed. "Someone had to." "Yes," she agreed. "They did. I'm rebuilding our entire safety oversight process, and I need people who don't look away. I can't promise it will be easy, but I can promise it will matter." Nathan looked at Lily, who smiled at him. "Okay," he said. That night, as he tucked Lily into bed, she asked, "Daddy, did your job turn out okay?" He kissed her forehead. "It did," he said, "because I did the right thing. And for the first time in a long while, a bilibed Italiano." 3 months later, Nathan stood in that same lobby. It was different. New safety signs, inspectors moving openly, systems being tested and double. He wasn't in a security uniform anymore. His badge read, Safety Compliance Analyst. That morning, Lily had walked with him to the bus stop. "Daddy," she'd asked, "do you still take the hardest jobs?" Nessan smiled. "Only the important ones." High above, the tower stood solid and safe, no longer pretending everything was fine. All because one man refused to walk away when no one was watching. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe for more content that matters.